Hello, hockey fans! Welcome back into the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio. Adam and Zach here with you again, continuing our One Question segment as we go all the way across the NHL. Tonight, we're going to be finishing up the Central Division and then staying out west and going to the Pacific and diving through what are the one questions we have for each team, plus news that has been breaking across the NHL landscape. We've got some head coaches, we've got a general manager out west, we've got some trades happening, some interesting things going on across the league, and of course, the NHL draft and free agency are headed right around the corner. Without any further ado, then buckling on up, everybody strap on your gear, let's go. And once again, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome on into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am Adam. Zach is here with us as well. Lots to get through tonight. Of course, we're going to be continuing our one question segment. We finish up the Central Division, then we'll move over to the Pacific. We might move into the Eastern Conference tonight even. We'll see how the evening unfolds. But before we get into all that, we do need to acknowledge our sponsor here on IE Sports Radio, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California_Warriors, and Facebook search Southern California Warriors. IE Sports Radio has been around now for the last 8 years, and all the while bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers, the first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you a shout-out on all of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And at this point, we do want to acknowledge our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. This show is available for you on Twitter, and IE Sports Radio you can follow on all the major social platforms at IE Sports Radio. That's how you find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and most recently on TikTok. This show is available for you on Twitter as well, at IESR Neutral Zone. I am at Adam_Karnick. Zach is at The Pupless. And without any further ado, let's bring in the man himself, Zach Puplis. How are you doing tonight, my man?
Woo! I'm good. How are you?
Tired. I did a concert last night in LaPorte. It was a ton of fun. That was the most energized. It was my daughter's first ever concert. She had a blast.
Aww.
It amped her up to 12 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Uh-huh.
And it was then my job to keep up with her for the rest of the evening.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm feeling very chill today.
Understandable.
And as we get underway, if you are listening live tonight, we are live on Spreaker. Taryn Rodriguez is already in the chat. Good evening, Taryn. You can hop on into the chat as well and interact with us that way as well. Taryn's interested to see what we have to say about the Ducks and the Kings this week as we're getting ready to do the Pacific Division.
Ooh, I got his Kings ready.
All right. Well, let's fire away then. Now, if I remember correctly from last week, we had a couple of teams left over from the Central Division. So let's wrap up the Central, and then we'll dive into the Pacific.
For sure. Do you remember where we left off?
We had two teams left to go in the Central Division. We had the Minnesota Wild and the Colorado Avalanche.
Okay, perfect. Gotcha. Well, then you are up first, sir, with the Wild.
All right, so the Wild. I'll set them up and you knock them down here. The Wild, 53, 22, and 7 overall, 113 points in the standings. Good for second in the Central Division in the Western Conference. They did qualify for the playoffs, though shockingly, they did not make it out of the first round. They got eliminated by the St. Louis Blues. So I missed that, Zach. What was that?
I said, oh my gosh, they didn't make it out of the first round.
I know. It's a shocker. Them in Toronto. Goal differential of plus 57, 310 goals scored, 253 goals allowed. They did finish the season on a 2-game winning streak for what that's worth. But again, not winning a playoff series again. We had their leading point scorer was Kirill Kaprizov. He had 108 points. He was also their leading goal scorer with 47, and he was their leading assist getter with 61 of those. Yeah, I mean, Kaprizov, obviously the top of the team there. They made the big trade deadline acquisition to get Marc-Andre Fleury. It was not enough to put them over the top. Cam Talbot, and also they used Capo Kakkonen throughout the regular season, and then Marc-Andre Fleury at the very end. How do you get out of the first round? That's my question for Minnesota. What are you going to do to get out of the first round? I mean, this is a team that, frankly, should be good enough to have gotten deep into the playoffs. Maybe not defeated the likes of Colorado or Edmonton, but certainly should have been good enough to beat St. Louis. So what do they do to take the next step?
I would say maybe solidify the goalie position. Make sure you have one great goalie and a decent backup, and don't go back and forth like Marc-Andre Fleury's previous team did with goalies. Being wishy-washy between Robin Lehner and Marc-Andre Fleury. Like, no, we need a steady hand, and we need somebody. We need consistency to show the team that this is our guy. We believe in him, but then also have a reliable backup.
Yeah.
On top of that, I'd say maybe they need a little bit more offense. And you need to go out in free agency or in the draft and, pick up a good offensive player.
Yeah, there is a bit of a drop-off, too, when you look at the points. I mean, Kaprizov, 108 points. Then you have Kevin Fiala with 85. Zuccarello's got 79. And Hartman with 65. And then nobody else is over 50. So kind of top-heavy with their scoring. A little bit more balance might be nice to have. A few more additions there offensively.
Yeah. When they're in the Zach Parise days, how far did they get in the playoffs then?
Second round is all that's coming to mind for me. I don't think they ever made the Western Conference final. Certainly haven't made a Cup final.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm thinking second round is all the furthest they made it, even in the Parise days.
I think in the bubble, yeah, they made it to the second round at least, yeah.
Yeah, the bubble year is, of course, a weird year because you had an entire extra round added in the bubble year. You had that best of 5 series that everybody had to do.
Oh, yeah, I forgot all about that one. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
It was originally supposed to be a best of 3, but Edmonton basically looked at it and said, well, we have to face Patrick Kane and the Blackhawks. We're not doing that in a best of 3, thank you.
Yeah, right.
All right, then let's wrap up the Central Division here. Colorado. Zach, tell us about the defending now we could say defending champions.
Yeah, there we go. Sure thing. Okay, so Colorado, the champs. Points, 119. Record, 56-19-7. Of course, they finished first in the division. Goals scored, 312. Goals against, 234. Question, can they keep the team together and repeat? They're already the favorites for the 23 Cup. Every defending champion team faces the same question, I feel like. Cap space, free agency, et cetera, et cetera. It's almost like you're a business and you're trying to figure out, okay, where does your core competency lie versus what can we outsource? And so it's almost like, okay, so who makes up the core of this team? Who could we not afford to get rid of? And who is the not only best performers on and off on the ice, whether it's offensive or defensive, but also who's the heart of the team, who gives them the best chance to gel and be cohesive and bring in the best team chemistry.
Yeah, Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar. That's who you're building this team around. I mean, they've done it obviously with MacKinnon over the last 5 years or so now with MacKinnon. Cale Makar is such a wonderful addition to have, one of the best offensive, defensive men in the league. And he just won the Conn Smythe. And he's, all of 22, 23? He's so young still.
He's like third or fourth year in the league, yeah.
Yeah. He's 23. My God, he's 23 years old. Punk kid. Yeah, born October. He won't turn 24 until we're nearly a month into next season, too, because his birthday's the end of October. So, yeah, I mean, that's clearly who you're building around. And then, of course, having Darcy Kemper in net, he's still, even at the, he just turned 32. So he's still got plenty of years left in front of him. But they do have some big free agents. Nazem Kadri is a pending free agent. Do you bring him back? Gabriel Landeskog, that's another obvious guy there with, he's the center, he's the captain of the team. But yeah, they've got some decisions to make at free agency, certainly, but Landeskog and McKinnon and Cale Makar, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay for a while, I feel. They've been building this team correctly and effectively now for the last 5+ seasons. I'm not as worried about the Avalanche heading into this offseason.
Sure. I got 2 more players I want to ask you about while we're still on them.
Fire away.
All right. So 2 more names. Maybe you can tell me if they're up for free agency, and if so, are they 2 people that, Colorado's going to do their hardest to bring back, or are they people that they, let's see how many draft picks we can fetch for them, or et cetera. Ready?
Fire away.
JT Comper.
Okay. Hold on. All right, let's going over to Spot Rack right now, and Colorado update. Let's see. The first guy you said was
JT Comper.
He is not an unrestricted free agent. He has got... Where did he go? Where did he go? Where did he go? So it's this wonderful dead air as I'm looking up names. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
It is escaping. What was the other name?
Arturi Lehkonen.
Oh, sure, Lehkonen. Arturi Lehkonen. Let's see his current deal. He was a trade deadline acquisition. Yes, he was a trade deadline acquisition, and he is a pending free agent.
Okay.
Yeah, because he had signed a 1-year deal with Montreal, and then they traded him to Colorado when when Montreal, it was obvious that he wasn't going anywhere. He is a restricted free agent. He is a restricted free agent because he's only got 3 years experience in the league.
So restricted meaning like if they were to do a deal with somebody, it'd have to be, on his short list of teams he'd want to go to. Is that how that works?
Typically how restricted free agency works is you're allowed to go out and negotiate with other teams, but then your current club has right of first refusal. Basically, if you sign a deal, say Lehkonen signed a deal with Nashville, going to make up a team here. Say the Predators were to sign him to a 3-year, $12 million deal. That's a lot for Lehkonen. But we'll go with it. That'd be a nice pay raise for Lehkonen. The Avalanche could say, "Oh, you signed that deal with them? No, we butt in and we're signing you to that deal. You're staying here with Colorado."
Okay, so they get a chance for a rebuttal, basically.
Basically, yeah, you get a chance to go out and negotiate. However, the team that owned your rights at the end of the previous season has the ability to say, "We can make that deal work for us, therefore you're staying with us." Exactly. So yeah, that's the difference between restricted free agency and unrestricted free agency. Unrestricted free agency, you're allowed to go to whomever signs you. You don't have to worry about about anybody stepping in and saying, no, you actually still belong to us.
Gotcha.
So I'm still trying to find that first name you threw at me, though, and I'm not finding him. So anyway, moving on. So that does it for the Central Division. So now let's dive into the Pacific Division a little bit here as we get going across the NHL with our one question series. So Pacific Division, again, we're going to be starting at the bottom. Starting off with the Seattle Kraken. Their first season in the NHL. It was a success in the sense that it happened. They played 82 games. The team didn't fold. However, there's not a whole lot of success on the ice. They were not the worst team in the league. Heck, they weren't even the worst team in the conference. Thank you, Arizona. The Seattle Kraken, 27, 49, and 6, finished with 60 points in the standings. 23 of those wins were regulation wins, 1 overtime win, and 3 shootout wins. 216 goals scored. Yuck. Again, not the worst. Heck, they weren't even the worst in their own division at that, but not great. 285 goals allowed for a goal differential of negative 69. Again, not great, but not the worst. Thank you, Arizona Coyotes, keeping the Kraken out of the gutter in so many categories. Leading scorer was Jared McCann. He had 50 points overall and 27 goals. He led the team in goals and overall points. Assists. The assist leader was Vince Dunn, a young defensiveman. 28 assists. He had 35 points on the season. Oh, he was a whopping minus 21 plus minus. Yuck. That's okay. That's what happens when you're an expansion team. You're supposed to have bad numbers those first couple of years. Peter Grubauer, of course, or Philip Grubauer, I'm sorry. Philip Grubauer had the most wins for the team with 18. And their other goalie that recorded any wins, Chris Dreidiger. Goals against, Grubauer, 3.16. Dreidiger was actually only 2.96 for the season goals against average. The Seattle Kraken. And they did make news today for hiring the first woman assistant coach in NHL history. She's going to be down in the American Hockey League. She's going to be Jessica Campbell. She's an assistant coach at the Coachella Valley Firebirds. She's the first full-time bench coach in the AHL or the NHL, the first woman to fill a bench coaching role. Wow, I got that out miserably. So, all right, Seattle, my question for you. You had your Cinderella season. You had your fun welcome to the NHL. Now, how are you going to get to be a serious hockey team? How are you going to get yourself out of the basement of the Pacific Division? Of the two divisions in the West, the Pacific is the tougher division. How are you going to climb your way up? How are you going to get out of this?
That was kind of my question too. Yeah, how do you go from stellar dweller to at least average? I think they got good goaltending. I think they just need better better offensive players, and let's see, goals for, goals against, and better defense too. At least out front of the net. They do have some really decent players that they picked up, in the expansion draft from other teams. I'm looking at least two from the Blues, one from the Lightning, so on. That's what I would go with.
Yeah, they do have cap space. They've got $23 million in cap space to play with as we're getting ready for free agency. So there's going to be money to spend to get interest into your club too.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Can we circle back to something you said at the start of this one?
Circle back to what?
They made it through a full season. You said they didn't fold. So was that a possibility? Could they have folded?
No.
Or you just mean like metaphorically, like?
Oh no, I was meaning literally. They did not fold. They did not cease operations as a team. That wasn't really going to happen, 100 years ago maybe, but not now.
Okay. So maybe yours is more like saying they didn't, it was a tough year, but they didn't throw in the towel.
Yeah, that too.
Gotcha. Okay. Because that was where I was going. It was like, okay, after the Vegas Golden Knights exceeded all expectations for an expansion team, this one has kind of returned to the norm for what an expansion team is supposed to perform like their first year or so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, next up, Zach, tell us about the Anaheim Ducks.
Sure. Let's see here.
Or do you want me to do the Ducks?
Yeah, you got it. Go ahead.
All right.
Didn't have the winner yet.
All right, I will fire away. The Anaheim Ducks, they were second to last in the Pacific Division, 31, 37, and 14, 76 points overall. They finished with 232 goals scored, 271 allowed for a goal differential of negative 39. Again, not good. Could be a lot worse, but not good by any means. Leading scorers for the Ducks was their centerman Troy Terry. He had 67 points on the season. He also was the leading goal scorer with 37. And then Trevor Zegras was the leading helper on the team with 38 assists for 61 points. He was second on the team in points. You've got to get some scoring if you're the Ducks. You got to get a few more goals in the net. John Gibson was the top goalie, a 3.19 goals against average, save percentage of .904. You'll take that. But the only other goalie of significance was Anthony Stolarz. He finished with a 2.67 goals against average and a .917 save percentage. So better numbers, but a significantly smaller sample size there. Only 28 starts as opposed to 56. Taryn's pointing out in the chat room, yeah, they had some long losing streaks in their season that kind of shut down any possibility of making moves or making any kind of a deep run. I want to see more scoring from the Ducks. Having your leading scorer not even have 70 points. I need to see a bit more from them there. Somebody like Nazem Kadri, or some of the other big name scoring free agents. Those could be some good guys to look at going and getting. But I want to see some more scoring out of them. Had some young players that had some impact this season, but yeah, an 11-game winless streak did not help. So my question for them is, how are you going to get more offense on this team?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, pick up a nice free agent, good offensive player, Nazem Kadri. Yeah.
And this is also the first offseason for their new general manager too. They've got Pat Verbeek is now, it's his time. You know, he had to come in partway through the season because Bob Murray was a terrible human being and finally he was gone.
Ooh, yeah.
So, and no Ryan Getzlaf, you know. You've said goodbye to Ryan Getzlaf, the centerman. You know, your captain is gone. Time for a new identity.
Did they trade him or did he retire or what happened? I forget.
He retired.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
So that's my question for Dallas. Anaheim. Why do I keep wanting to say Dallas? Because their coach is Dallas Eakins. But yeah, they've got some young players. Terry, Zegras. They've also got a starting defenseman who's not even old enough to drink. So they've got some young talent. Now you got to build around it.
Yep.
All right, and who is next in the standings then for the Pacific Division there? Whoops, as I shoot past
Vancouver Canucks.
Take it away, Zach.
Sure.
Oh no, you skipped a team. You skipped a team.
Okay.
The next team was not Vancouver. It was the San Jose
Vancouver.
Sharks.
Yeah. They were 40, 30, and 12 on the season with 92 points. Goals for were 249. Goals against 236 for a plus 13 goal differential. They missed the playoffs by let's see. In their division, they were behind Vegas, who was behind LA. So they missed the playoffs by like 7 points. 5 actually, if you include everybody from the other division. You know, they seem to have not really done much ever since they made it back to the Cup in 2011. So again, the question is, you know, how do you just find that extra gear to get you that much closer to be in the playoffs? And I mean, once you're in the playoffs, you know, anything can happen.
Yeah, the Canucks are a conundrum. Yeah, how do they take that next step? I mean, they've got some top end scoring. They are JT Miller. That is their offense. They are JT Miller, and then a little bit of Elias Peterson, and then that's it. You know, not very much scoring on that team outside of the very top. JT Miller, 99 points, 32 goals for the Canucks.
Well, I look at Brock Besser too. Like I recognize his name.
Yeah, a couple of guys here and there, but a lot of it is very top heavy with the Canucks. So getting more balanced is going to be the goal, I think, for the Canucks. And then we skipped over the San Jose Sharks.
Oh, shoot.
San Jose was 32, 37, and 13 last year, 77 points overall, 214 goals scored, 264 allowed, minus 50 goal differential. The 214 goals scored was second worst in the conference, once again, only in front of Arizona. And it was in front of only 2 teams total in the NHL. So San Jose's got to score. But that's not the biggest offseason question for the Sharks. They've got to figure out, they got to get their front office straight. They've got to get their front office taken care of. They had the big announcement earlier today, of course, that they've got a new general manager. Mike Grier is the new general manager of the San Jose Sharks. Amazingly enough, he is the first black general manager, not just in San Jose Sharks team history, but in fact in NHL history. Congratulations to Grier for getting the job. Not sure why it took the NHL that long to do it, but golf clap for finally getting it done. And now you've got to get the rest of it. You've got to get the rest of it sorted. They need a head coach. They've got to get things lined up with their organization and then figure out a path forward as a team. I expect for the Sharks, once they get their coach selected, once they kind of get their behind-the-scenes stuff organized, I would expect that they're not done bottoming out yet. I would expect to see some rough times ahead for the Sharks before they start getting better. I wouldn't expect next season to be great.
Yeah. Makes you wonder the year they made it to the Cup in 16 against the Penguins, if it was, maybe they just caught lightning in a bottle,
A little bit. They had some good veterans on there, too. I mean, you had Thornton, you had Evander Kane on that team, I think. So they had some veterans that aren't there anymore.
Oh, yeah, Joe Thornton. Pavelski, yeah?
Yep.
And Evander Kane, like you said.
And instead, you've got Timo Meier leading the team in points, and Burns is still, Brent Burns is still there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a sell-off, a little bit of a rebuild happen with San Jose.
Sure.
All right, Zach, tell us about the Vegas Knights.
The Vegas Golden Knights, they wound up fourth in the Pacific. They had 94 points. Their record was 43, 31, and 8. They missed the playoffs for the first time in their brief existence. So they've been around for 5 years now, and it's the first time they missed postseason. Goals against, 248, goals for, 266. So just over even, with goal differential of plus 18. They still have a lot of stars. The core is still there. Carlson, Marchessault, Pacioretty, Robin Lehner, and then you've got the new addition. Alex Pietrangelo has been around there for a year or two now. Jack Eichel with the trade with Buffalo. And then it looks like Shea Weber's there now. So the question is, they just barely missed the playoffs, so how did they get back?
Yeah. New coach now, Bruce Cassidy. He is the third coach already in team history.
Wow.
The 57-year-old comes over from the Bruins, where they made the playoffs 6 straight seasons. So Yeah, I mean, they made the huge move, of course, in with Buffalo. Now, how do you get back? Because obviously, this season was a letdown. This was a huge letdown for Vegas. They are also extremely over the salary cap. I know Cale Henderson, who's coming up here in about 15 minutes to talk about Vegas sports. He's never worried about the salary cap. He looks at it as that's just a number. That's just an accounting thing. You just move these dollars over here and move that over there, and voila, you're under the salary cap. Vegas is like 5 players over the salary cap with as much money as they've spent. They've got a lot of money to trim off of this roster, and I don't know how to do it. You know, they definitely... All right, can I make a gambling pun since it's Vegas?
Always.
Okay, thank you. They definitely pushed all their chips into the middle of the table over the last 2 seasons. You know, since making it to the Cup final their first year, they decided to go for it right out of the gate, and now they backloaded deals, and now they're having to deal with, oh, hey, the salary cap has not gone up because this is the NHL, and the salary cap doesn't go up. I don't know how they're going to fix their salary cap problem, but that's why you've got guys getting paid the big bucks to figure out those kinds of things. But talent-wise, if they're able to keep the right pieces, this is a team that should be in the playoffs next year.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's funny that you said that they've gone through 3 coaches now, and they've only been around for 5 years. Well, and I think that's you know, because they're a victim of their own success right off the early success right off the bat of getting to the Cup final that first year. You know, people didn't have any kind of expectations prior to that, but that just set the bar so high, and I think anything short of that, yeah, is going to get you fired.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I did a couple California teams. It's your turn to do a California team. Tell us about the Kings.
Sure. Oh, I got one more quick point on Vegas before we move on.
Oh, sure.
So, yeah, they did that massive trade to get Jack Eichel. And so maybe, you know, A, they got to get under the cap, like you said. But B, maybe the key is not necessarily getting more players at this point, but just bringing out the best in them and trying to get as much juice out of the orange as you can, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll stick with that analogy. You can't go pluck more oranges. You've just got to get as much juice out of the ones you have as you can. Yeah. It's a good analogy.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you. And like Jack Eichel is a prime example. I mean, he was hurt still part of the year, you know, recovering from a surgery and everything. So maybe a first full season in their system is going to really help him achieve at a higher level, maybe.
Yeah, agreed. All right, tell us about the Kings.
Yes, sir. All right, the Kings. They are they were third in the division. They're 44, 27, and 11. They had 99 points. They made it back to the playoffs. This is their first trip back to the playoffs since 2018. You know, they had the two cups, and they seem to like even years for whatever reason. They had the 2 cups in 12, 14, and then 16 and 18. They made it back to the playoffs, but didn't get very far. And then same for this trip. They made it to the first round or two. So goals against 236, goals for 239, just about even. Got a couple. You got two big stars that have been there through this whole run. Anze Kopitar, Jonathan Quick, and they got one of my former Red Wings, Andreas Athanasiou, a nice young and up and comer. So my question is, how did they get back to the playoffs? And what made this team different?
This team specifically, well, Jonathan Quick returned to form. That was a huge thing. And in fact, for Taryn, that's his question for the Kings. How much more does Quick have in the tank? And you look at Quick's numbers from this season, 23, 13, and 9, a 2.59 goals against average in 46 games, a 910 save percentage. He had, how many shutouts did he have? Did he have any? ESPN, give me the numbers I need. He had 2. He had 2 shutouts. And you look at his numbers compared to where they'd kind of been in his career the last couple of years. Let's just look at the goals against average. There we go. He's 2.59 this season. For his career, he's 2.42. That's absurd, by the way. Not even giving up 2.5 goals a game. What the heck? The season before, 2.86, 2.79. 18-19 was a horrible year for them. 3.38 goals allowed. So he'd been the last 3 seasons. The last 2 seasons were very doable. But, and Taryn, yes, you also hit the nail right on the head. The Kings won games and didn't lose too many. That's how they were able to make the playoffs. Very astute observation, Taryn. There's a chair right here next to me. You hop right in and join us. That is A+ observation.
Can you repeat that? What did Taryn say?
He said, you had asked, how did they make the playoffs? And Taryn said, well, the Kings won games and didn't lose too many. That's how they made the playoffs. It's perfect. I mean, that is exactly how they did it. Well done, Taryn. This is perfect. I love it.
All right. Smart Alex.
I love it, though. I love it. I love it. But specifically, to get a little bit more specific, Jonathan Quick returned to form, was a big part of how they were able to get back this season. You had Anze Kopitar being their leading scorer. They need more offense. They need to build. They just made a huge trade too that will help with that. They got Kevin Fiala from Minnesota. He is going to help tremendously. The Wild had to get rid of Fiala because of the, salary cap. They couldn't afford to bring him back. He was a restricted free agent. So they traded away his rights to Los Angeles, and Los Angeles immediately sorry, lost my train of thought there. They immediately signed him to an extension. So they're going to get more offense. So they've worked nicely with that. I like that move for the Kings. So it's interesting to see what we're going to get from the Kings this coming season. I'd say they overperformed last season, but there's nothing to be ashamed of there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're going to real quick wrap up this division. We've got 2 more teams, and then we got to get out of the way for Kale so he can do Sin City sports.
Yeah, anything else for where they made in the playoffs? Yeah, it definitely would have been icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Or playing with house money. It's not, they're not the Vegas team, but, I work at casinos, so I have, free reign over all of those funds. That's what I'm going with.
There you go. It works. All right, so then we've got 2 Canadian teams to finish things out here. Do you want Edmonton or do you want Calgary?
I gave you the honors of Edmonton because you seem to have so much fun talking about it all year, so I'll take Calgary afterwards.
All right. The Edmonton Oilers, also known as the Edmonton video game, 49, 27, and 6 overall, 104 points as a team, 290 goals scored, 252 allowed for a goal differential of plus 38. Leading scorers, yeah, we know who they are, don't we? Connor McDavid with 123 points. And then Leon Draisaitl with 110 points. After that, nobody broke 55. The next highest scorer on the team was Zach Hyman with 54 points, 27 goals, 27 assists. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as well on there. And, of course, Evander Kane, the big acquisition partway through the season. In 43 games, he had 39 points. Certainly nothing to sneeze out there from Evander Kane. Goaltending, and this is going to be my big question for the Oilers, is going to be, what do they do at net? Do they stick with Mike Smith? They used Mikko Koskinen quite a bit last season. He actually started the most games. Mike Smith was the guy that started in the playoffs, though. What do you do at goalie? What do you do at defense? Because Edmonton showed you they're very willing and very happy to just dare you to keep up with them scoring. But as we saw, when teams like Calgary and teams like Colorado were able to not only keep up with them, but slow them down, they had no answer.
They said, you want us to keep up with you scoring-wise? Okay, hold my beer.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of that.
Yeah. I think you got to do. I mean, it's no different than like a quarterback competition in college or in the pros. Like, get him some competition and help him get better. Or if somebody winds up being better than Mike Smith, move on to that guy.
I'd love to see Marc-Andre Fleury in Edmonton. I think that would help them so much to have somebody that can be a lockdown cup-winning goalie for them.
Oh, yeah. It's brick wall, basically.
Taryn's question for the Oilers is, how do they almost lose to the Kings in round one?
I was just looking at that. When I was doing research for this, I was like, wait, the Kings and them went to Game 7? What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was not a good start for Edmonton.
You already forget so soon,
Yeah, that's lack of defense, lack of goaltending is what undid Edmonton. That's got to be their focus, their priority this offseason. They've got to figure out how to be better at the blue line back.
Yeah.
Larry's commenting that he's having a hard time understanding you, Zach. Yeah, that's actually on my end. I'm realizing that I need to make sure that I kill my mic in order that you're coming in clear. When I kill my mic, it helps you better, Zach. All right, Zach, tell us about the Calgary Flames, and then we got to get out of here.
Yes, sir. Real quick. All right. Calgary, 50, 21, and 11 with 111 points. Goals against, 208. Goals for, 293. So good differential there. First place in their division, of course. Stars, Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk, and Jacob Markstrom. I recall, wasn't Markstrom one of the finalists for was the Vezina?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And so then, the last couple of years, they've been at the top of the division, if not the whole conference, and so they do really well in the regular season. They wind up with a heck of a lot of points, a lot of wins, but they get a good seed in the playoffs, but then they don't seem to be able to do anything with it. So there's my question: like, what's it going to take for them to see their their regular season success translate into postseason success?
Time, experience. I'd like the Flames to be a team to beat next season. I like Calgary. They're set up well. That series against Edmonton was... I could watch that series over and over and over. That was so much fun. They're a team to watch out for next season. I like Calgary heading into next year. I mean, you look at... They had guys like... as I go back to their skaters, not their goals, Johnny Gaudreau, he's a pending free agent, but I expect that he will be back with the team. Matthew Tkachuk, that's somebody else that he's open to staying in Calgary. They should get some things done. They should get some things done there. Help this team out. I like Calgary to make the couple of obvious moves and then have themselves a heck of a season next year.
Well, can we do a quick comparison with Edmonton and then? Like, we talked about Edmonton needing better goalies. Well, Calgary seems to have a really good goalie, especially the Vezina finalist. So what exactly do they need to improve on? Better offense then?
I think, honestly, for Calgary, it's just they got their feet wet. They got a taste of it. Now they know what playoff hockey is like. Now they know what it's like to play deep into the playoffs, and they'll just be better next year. I don't know that they need to do a whole lot. Tinker with it around the edges here or there. We'll dive into this more next week. We'll get back to this next week. But there's not a whole lot that they need to do in Calgary to make a deep run. Some small things around the periphery, but they should be good. All right. We have got to get out of here because Cale Henderson is coming up right after us. Thank you to the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team for being our sponsor. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Thank you to Taryn and Larry for hanging out with us in the chat room. Thank you to Larry, all the work you do behind the scenes for us. It is very much appreciated. Thank you for coming and listening, whether it was live here on Tuesday or if it was later on in the week as a podcast. Thanks for fitting us into your sports life. We really appreciate it. I am Adam Karnick. He's Zach Pupelis. Between the two of us, we are the Neutral Zone. Next week, we'll be recapping the draft, looking at some free agency, and of course, keep plugging through these divisions, keep talking about these teams. Lots coming up. Stick around right after us. Cale Henderson and Sin City Sports is coming up to talk all things Las Vegas. The Golden Knights, they have some work to do. All right. Don't get checked into the boards, and as always, be sure to stay out of the penalty box. Until next week, this is the Neutral Zone signing off.